Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Plenty going down last night. The Challengers Cup is going on at the present time. Doug Martin potentially being called out for breaking gentleman's agreement. But OpTic versus FaZe in a scrim set last night for the first time in a very long time. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hitting that like button is the best thing you can do to help this channel reach new people. And please consider subscribing as well if you have not yet already. So, big questions right now remain as to what exactly is going to go on with this Boston CDL spot. Are they going to target the players they've been thinking about targeting? Are they looking down different directions? Method you would imagine is kind of a shoe-in for the main AR position on this roster on that 12th CDL team. As he says right here, we're in for a longer stream later today. Sorry for the lack of hours recently. It will all make sense relatively soon. So definitely implying that Boston are going to get things confirmed sooner rather than later in terms of, well, before the CDL season and the kickoff event and all that stuff kicks off. Because with any luck, the CDL are thinking, okay, we want to put some team packs in the game, like some actual CDL team skins. We need all the rosters to announce what the branding's going to be and all this type of stuff relatively soon. So, well, kind of crazy we don't have that already, but I guess it still leaves us something to talk about. At least you can look at it from that perspective. Wanted to mention gentlemen's agreements as well, because yesterday we discussed some of the things that have, been GA'd and not yet necessarily been GA'd, and the bar, for example, the fact that the CDL skin or the CDL pack comes out, run it back, and it gives you this, like, bar, blueprint or whatever it's called, right? And the bar is a weapon that's actually GA'd right now. So it was added to the list, as Crone says right here. The stabilizer GA was being tested. Now that's official on the MP40. So that's now official in the game. There's not all that many things compared to last year, but I think this list will probably only continue to grow over time. And it's not just like weapons and attachments that are GA'd, but also certain positions and spots on the map. Now, I'm not exactly sure which one Doug was apparently using yesterday, but we'll have a look at some of the tweets here in just a couple of seconds. So, as Parasite says right here, because they played up against Doug's team, they ended up beating them in the Challengers Cup. So the Challengers Cup right now is kind of a strange one because there's nothing technically on the line outside of a bit of money. There's no CDL points because, they're playing right now. They're not even playing a third game mode in Control because it's so broken. Like, whether Censor will actually fix it anytime soon, we shall see. But right now they're just playing Hardpoint Search and Destroy, which is pretty shambolic, but and therefore, like, they're not really considering it in terms of, like, proper money for the tournament, or at least proper points for the seeding going forwards, but they're still playing the tournaments for a bit of money and a bit of practice, which is generally what they are for. Now, of course they are for practice, as Censor says. Lost game 5 to Team Canada. GG to those guys playing UT Crew or Team Spart tomorrow for top 6 in the morning. Let's get it, he says. So, Parasite comes down and takes him down game 5, but Doug was doing pretty well earlier on also, as Tom Gravity says right here. GG to Doug and the guys. The One Scrim Wonders gave it our best go, right? So I guess that's referring to Gravity's own team. Can't wait to get more practice in and fix some of the early mistakes. Simple S&D, not gonna lie. Now, Gravity comes back and says something kind of interesting. Not typical of you breaking of the gentleman's agreements, but appreciate you gassing the One Scrim Wonders. Okay, dude, lol. We were under the impression that P1 contest spot was G8. We don't really care. That tourney wasn't for anything but practice. It is the principle. Sure, bro, that's why we won the map, lol. GG's Tom. So interesting response really from Doug. Not saying that he didn't use this spot, whatever this contest spot is. Like, there's always some contest spots in certain games. You guys might remember, like, if you're Super OG, this is going to be a Super OG one. But there was even one last year on Apocalypse, like the map in the Black Ops Cold War side, when I think it was the P3 hill, where you could contest it from outside. Like, you can go up against the wall on the outside of the hardpoint and just stand there and contest the spot. I think P5 had a similar thing on Apocalypse as well. That was relatively quickly fixed. Also, way back in Black Ops 2 on Hijacked, right at the start of that game, the kitchen hardpoint, you could contest that from outside the hardpoint on this little ledge, if you guys know what I'm talking about. So there's always kind of been these weird contest spots, and even last year I think on Checkmate there was also this kind of contest spot that people could sit outside some barrel on side of the P3 hardpoint underneath the plane, and that was kind of considered to be like gentleman's agreement a little bit. And there was some drama about that in one of the league matches actually, when I think FaZe maybe used it, and the other team was like, okay, you guys have used it, all that type of stuff. So this is the thing, it's technically in the game, but sometimes these spots that you can contest in, you can't really actually go for control of the hardpoint, but you can contest to stop the other team getting time. Sometimes these get gentleman's agreemented. Now, Censor says, look, that's not even why we won the map, right? Like, who cares? But as Gravity's like, look, it's the principle, right? Even though this is just for practice, not for pro points, like, or, for CDL points or whatever exactly how it works this year. Like, it's the principle of using it. Censor doesn't really seem to care all that much, but I thought it was pretty entertaining regardless. This also, right, because who knows really where Doug's going next year, but I think there was some talk between, like, Scrap, who's on, Gravity's team. Doug, do you know if you're on Boston yet, right? So just having a good time in the chat here, given that, people aren't really know what's going on that front as well. But Doug may be in consideration. We'll have a look at here in just a couple of minutes' time. Firstly, wanted to discuss some scrims from last night. It's pretty rare, really, we get to see OpTic playing up against FaZe. They were, I'm pretty sure, meant to play them a couple of days ago, but that didn't happen because, the Krampus thing happened. He arrived into the game. The game was a bit of a mess. They decided, look, we don't want to put ourselves through that and actually play Vanguard in its current state, so we'll just wait a couple of days. That's now been fixed. fixed they can scrim in a proper format. And yesterday, CDL Scrim Intel was out at a birthday party or something, so OpTic Texas Intel came through clutch with this one. OpTic Texas versus FaZe Scrim recap. So Berlin, Bakaj, Gavatu, they didn't play Gavatu twice here, which tends to be a norm at this point, to be honest. But yeah, only 4 maps really being played in Hardpoint right now. It's not exactly ideal, to be honest, but the kind of rotations they're sitting at right now, like usually you want 5. So yeah, in London Docks, like Samurai Dumont, are they ever going to arrive? I don't really know. These are the 4 we're going with right now, though. So map 1 Berlin goes the way of, I mean, it was pretty much back and forth. Like, it was incredibly close, some of these maps, right? Like, no map, the first map was okay, 251, 70 odds, but everything else after that was like 200, 200, like one way or another. So really close series, really entertaining one. Definitely sets us up for hopefully a very nice season here, because FaZe, like early on in Vanguard, they were looking really, really good online. Now it's kind of a hit or miss, really, whether they're actually looking like the most dominant team in the game or not. OpTic's certainly up there, at least in terms of online results. Does make things very exciting, I think, going forwards. So yeah, 4-3 on the whole to OpTic in the end of this one. Like, yeah, close for affair. It's scrims. It doesn't really matter too much, but just good to see these teams are very well matched early on in terms of setting up storylines for this year. They also go on to scrim Rokkr just after that, so this time they do play the Gavatu twice. Both times it goes the way of OpTic. But yeah, to be fair to Minnesota Rokkr, because I think they've been getting kind of smoked, not necessarily smoked, but just not having the best time in scrims the last couple of weeks. They find themselves winning 3 maps here up against OpTic, so not bad at all. 5-3, and of course OpTic win both scrim sets on the day. Doesn't really mean that much in the course of things, but of course when we've got no actual tournaments really to discuss with these pro teams, this is the type of stuff we have to talk about. But of course, speaking of pro teams and speaking of Doug said to Martin, there has been some serious questions as to what Boston are going to try and do. So last night there was an episode of The Flank that came through with Dens and Zed. So Dens, the general manager, and Zed, the coach of the new Boston spot. Boston Breach, apparently it's going to be called, discussing what's going on with some of these rosters, what they might consider doing. And it was really funny. They were watching Doug said to Martin right here, and he went round 11 and made a really nice play, and they're kind of roasting him in a way, right? The fact that he makes the same play every single round, but it works out. There was also a couple of other clips that came through when the guys were discussing Zed and Dens. Like, yeah, we've considered so many challenger players. Doug has always been on the radar. Like, so Doug potentially gets a spot if the chips fall in the right way.
Has one player been signed so far? Obviously not telling us who, but has there been a signing yet?
No.
No signings have been made.
No signings, and everything.
Ooh.
And Doug just gripped his controller a little bit harder. He just gripped his controller a little bit harder there.
Still on their toes, huh?
It's 100%, man. So we want, 100 players. It's all up for grabs. Like, we're watching everything, as Den said. And
so, question: anybody can get replaced in any moment, huh?
Currently.
Oh, yeah.
We see it kind of fit.
So, in your roster building process so far, do you have one lock? Are you kind of locked in on one guy or 2 guys, or like obviously you haven't signed them, but are you committed to building the team with them?
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, we gotta ask the question.
We gotta ask the question because they might not be.
Or is anyone submitted in? Dens, general manager, have you?
There's been talks and discussions about a couple of players. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So they're not all the way there yet.
Locked in?
Did you guys consider Censor?
I'll say now, I'd say about 35 challenger players are all under, we're looking at.
How far did he make it?
We're not done yet. So
okay.
I would say, just from knowing Doug, I think every organization considered Doug at some point in their process.
Kind of have to, right?
Yeah, you have
to. He's a huge draw, right?
Yeah, he's the biggest draw, and especially for a new brand, Doug is going to be considered.
That's important. Like,
every point.
Speaking of Doug, he is round 11 right now in his game. You want to go into a live listening, ladies and gentlemen?
10-6.
Doug is a unit.
Into a live listening on the front flank, round 11 here in the Challengers Cup.
We can't go into a listen, and I'm pretty sure he's muted.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, he is muted.
Crazy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
so we will have
But they have defense. Yo, Doug runs the same exact strat every single round.
He's
in a smoke.
Wait.
And then slide chows.
He smokes. He smokes. He smokes.
And there you go. Yeah.
He does it. Envoy. It's the same thing every single round. It's successful. It's successful.
Doug, he fresh. He's put on a show.
He's been doing that since the
the
tournament with
flag.
Holly and you, Zen. It's literally the same thing.
It's the same exact, and they just won the round. Oh my god.
This guy with the 12 bomb to close out the round 11 against Parasite. That's a good team, bro.
Doug's just so like nonplussed about what just happened too.
I don't know.
And just to finish off with this for you guys from Crone, I thought was quite remarkable. Not exactly surprising, but just something that well, it just kind of breaks my heart away. Modern Warfare 2019 multiplayer is king according to r/Call of Duty. So they come through best multiplayer experience of the current Call of Duty generation. So I guess this is from Black Ops 3 onwards. So Black Ops 3, you've got I mean that came out in 2015. Then after that, you had Infinite Warfare. I guess they didn't put that one on here, but it wasn't too bad, to be honest, really looking back at it. Then World War II, Black Ops 4, you know, Cold War, Vanguard, like, well, Modern Warfare 2019 gets the vast majority of the votes here. To be fair, Black Ops 2 was close to winning this, but, you know, to me, this is an absolute no-brainer. It's just kind of crazy that just comparing Modern Warfare 2019, for example, to Cold War in the kind of the mind of the more casual player is, it's just kind of crazy to think about, just given the pros perspective, right, of how good these games were from the competitive perspective. Just shows the kind of, well, the parallels that don't exist between the communities, and well, why I suppose the CDL and Activision in general doesn't really seem to put too much focus on competitive play. But I suppose we can only hope for things to be slightly more successful in the future. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hitting that like button tells those YouTube gods this is a good video. Others like you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you much as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.
So right before I joined London last year, obviously I was in Challengers, and I was in pretty advanced conversations with Oxygen to come into Challengers as a, you know, and we represent them. Obviously that fell through and it didn't end up working. But when I decided to retire at the end of this year and, you know, be a coach, obviously it didn't look so good about coaching a CDL team. So I reached out to them about becoming a Challenger team, and me and Den's running that. The emails went pretty, you know, they're pretty interesting, and we had to sign some NDAs and stuff, and he pretty much told us, like, we're going to be the 12th CDL team. So turns out the one company that I reached out to coach ended up being the 12th team. So
that is
we find
insane.
ourselves here.
Guys, batting 1,000.